A very good evening to you. You're just in time for an hour and a half of news from the length and breadth of the nation, compiled with the extra touch of fine details and balance. Tonight, two state helmsmen visit the State House. Security and politics top the agenda. The Petroleum Industry Act, its implementation, and the cascading impact on a key industry in need of a lift. There are insightful reports on the intervention of modern technology on board a surveillance and aviation accident reportage. And on agriculture, backyard farming may just lift the gates of food security. A northern state is showcasing fruits of its green initiatives, which could make others go green with envy. Taxi apps and a drive to hell. The experiences of drivers and passengers alike as men of the underworld undermine a key transport platform. We have a loaded package for you tonight. So, shall we begin? I am Fatima Umaruwa, and this is News Extra. I welcome you. Governor Hope Uzodimma of Imo State has expressed absolute confidence in the ability of the governing APC to win the forthcoming Anambra governorship elections. The governor, whom is the chairman APC Presidential Campaign Council for the election, gave this assurance to President Muhammadu Buhari at an engagement on critical national issues. State House correspondent Anna Musombo reports that the president also granted audience to the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo.
The governing All Progressives Congress, APC, presently controls 2 out of the 5 southeastern states of Nigeria. Governor Hope Uzodimma, who is meeting President Muhammadu Buhari after a wide consultation with critical stakeholders, assured him that Anambra, the light of the nation, will not remain in the opposition.
The political leadership in Igbo land will have resolved to be part of the federal government, to participate at the national level, to leave a provincial championship to national championship. So what we have decided to do is to ensure that we embrace the ruling party, APC. And we are taking the message to Anambra. And by the grace of God, Anambra people will buy the message and the Igbo land will be recovered.
Governor Hope Uzodimma used the opportunity to formally appreciate the president for his intervention in respect of the ecological challenges confronting Imo State, especially the erosion menace.
As I speak to you, 3 erosion sites, contract for them will be awarded any moment from now, and Mr. President has also approved the release of funds for payment of the project to the contractors. So it is a good one.
On security, the Imo State governor told journalists that normalcy has not only been restored in the state, but there is also no compliance to the sit-at-home order by the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra.
IPOB is not the government in Imo State. The Imo State government has not authorized any sit-at-home. People are going about their businesses, workers are going to work, and normal business activities are on. And for now, I told you that Imo State is relatively calm. We even had a football match between Heartland and Adama Football Club in the night at Dan IAM Stadium. And people witnessed it all over the world. That will tell you the extent of friendliness and the good environment for businesses in Imo State. With the political will and cooperation of our people, particularly our traditional rulers, we've been able to a reasonable extent, manage control of criminality and illegality in Imo State. Our farmers and our headers signed an MOU in my office and agreed to work together. And both parties are going about their businesses without interfering or causing any grievance or anger to each other. So in no small time, I'm sure and almost certain that normalcy will return completely, 100% to Imo State.
Protection of lives and property, Governor Uzodimma emphasized, is the primary responsibility of government, and therefore his administration will not leave anything to chance towards securing the Eastern Heartland for sustainable growth and development. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari formally engaged the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo. Details of their discussions held behind closed doors were not made public. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Governor Mohammed Inuwa Yahaya has formally broken his silence on the seeming insulation of Gombe State from the challenges of security bedeviling the North-East sub-region. The governor spoke to journalists after an engagement with the presidency on the state of affairs in his state and the nation. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo again reports.
Gombe, jewel in the savannah, is located right in the middle of the security-challenged northeast Nigeria. However, the state is virtually insulated from the resultant death and destruction suffered by all the neighboring states. Governor Inuwa Yahaya, who engaged the presidency on security and other issues, gives reasons for the prevailing peace enterprise in Gombe State.
We are in the midst of the northeast, and we are aware of the challenges the frontline states, that is Borno, Yobe, Adamawa, are facing. So we tried as much as possible to guide our people, in order to live in peace and harmony despite our differences that normally cause rift-raps amongst the people. And we've gotten the understanding of our people. And with the support of the security agencies, we've been able to relate and manage security in Gombe State. Whenever there is a small issue, we nip it at the bud. We don't allow it to escalate to get to a level that it could be alarming. And we're happy, and inshallah we shall try to sustain that.
With peace reigning supreme in Gombe State, socio-economic activities continue to thrive. As a result, the state was recently named the best in Nigeria in terms of ease of doing business.
We realize that for business to thrive, you must facilitate and give adequate support in all aspects, be it security, be it good health care, be it education, be it skills, and normal trade, development, which our people have keyed into. And being a peasant farmer state, we encourage our people to indulge in agricultural entrepreneurship and semi-processing of, agricultural produce. That is why, there's a lot of activity, and those major businesses that go to Gombe, especially to partake in those ventures, have really seen that Gombe is up and doing with regards to that. So little wonder then that we've gotten to the first position.
The governor also gives update on the state industrial park aimed at enhancing the economy of the state and creating job opportunities for the teeming unemployed.
Procurement processes have been completed. We are going to award the project by the end of this month. And inshallah, when we start, there will be no end to it because we are doing it in phases. The first phase is going to cost about 17 billion naira and is going to cover about 347 hectares of land. And because of its location close to the Dadiankowa Dam and the hydropower plant, which already has 40 megawatts of power, I think it will be a big attraction for investors and industrialists to come and settle. So I think we are on board and we are on course.
The industrial park has already been named after President Muhammadu Buhari. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari says attack on our Nigerian Defense Academy will not dampen the resolve of the military to bring decisive end to criminality in Nigeria. Instead, it will boost the morale of the armed forces. In a statement, the president notes that the attack, which led to loss of lives, came at a time that the military had put insurgents, bandits, kidnappers and other types of criminals on the retreat. The president says the heinous action would accelerate the total uprooting of evil in the polity, which members of the armed forces are solidly resolved to accomplish in the shortest possible time. President Buhari commiserated with the families of those who lost loved ones and praised God to comfort them. The president vows that the deceased would not die in vain, as the degenerate act would have consequences that will eventually clean the country of vermin and emancipate the polity from deliberate, targeted and contrived atrocious acts. The president thanks all Nigerians who value and appreciate the efforts of the military. And the Nigeria Defense Academy NDA Kaduna has constituted a board of inquiry to identify the circumstances surrounding the security breach at the institution. A statement by the Director Defense Information, Major General Benjamin Olufemi Sawyer, says the constitution of the panel is based on the directive of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor. The statement also clarifies that there is no evidence to prove that personnel on duty at the Nigerian Defense Academy were asleep at the time of the attack. The Director Defense Information says search and rescue of the abducted officer is still on, and troops of the Armed Forces of Nigeria will continue with its operations to ensure that all those involved in the dastardly act are brought to justice. And the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Tallen, has expressed utmost sadness over another attack on Yelwazangam village of Jos North local government area, where lives and property were destroyed. Tallen expressed sadness over the increasing rate of insecurity in Jos and environs, where women and children can no longer go about their normal activities, especially depriving children from attaining education. She called for urgent measures by government and security operatives to act swiftly and avert any further loss of lives and property in Jos. Also, the Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Ahmed Idris Wasi, has condemned the attack on Yelwazangam in Jos North local government area of Plateau State, describing it as inhuman, senseless and unwarranted. In a statement, Wasi urged the people of Plateau State to remain calm, peaceful, law-abiding and refrain from reprisal that will worsen the already fragile situation. The Deputy Speaker further called on the citizens of the state to embrace dialogue and proactive peace-building measures aimed at restoring harmonious coexistence among the people for lasting peace. He commiserated with the families of those affected. And still in security, despite cases of banditry and kidnapping in parts of the country, recent statistics by security agencies show reduction in criminal activities. Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Megari Ingyadi, stated this at the second ministerial press briefing activities of the ministry in the last 2 years. Francis Fon has that.
Minister of Police Affairs secured through Executive Council intervention for procurement of such operational vehicles.
2 years on the hot seat, overseeing a sensitive security force in challenging times. High and low moments inevitable, the Police Affairs Minister admits, and time for self-assessment for greater exploits.
The various interventions by government has enhanced the war against violent crimes by terrorist groups in the northeast and the other armed bandits in the northwest, north central, and other geopolitical zones of the country.
The Minister has fully deployed the instrumentality of his office to source and secure funding and offer police direction to the force in a manner unprecedented in the recent history of the force.
Security is an interagency task for internal peace, and having nice time with the Internal Affairs Ministry and others increase the figures in the success dashboard.
So there is no way we can run the Interior Ministry without a very close collaboration with the Ministry of Police. So it is just normal for those who head these two ministries to work in tandem.
A very big kudos for the work you are doing with the enactment of the Reform Act and with the establishment of the Police Trust Fund and everything that you've been doing here.
Goodwill messages set greater goals for the men in the force, and the next assessment should earn more kudos. The Police Affairs Minister tasks his men. Frank Sesfom, NTA News.
The presidency has described recent statements by Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State on the security situation in his state as inciting ethnic hatred. A statement from the presidency described the governor's recent actions and utterances as an act of denial of the law intended to withhold the rights and freedom from one ethnic group alone, while inciting race hatred against them, amongst others. The statement says the inciting comments, such as those credited to the governor, are not different from the genesis of the regrettable genocide witnessed in Rwanda. It further adds that these actions indicate an attempt to boost his political fortunes, which has made the governor to take the cheapest and lowest route possible by playing on ethnic themes, and in doing so, knowingly caused deaths of innocent Nigerians by inciting farmers against herders and Christians against Muslims. Let's talk PIA. As Nigerians applaud the fact that its oil and gas industry now has a legal framework to hold state-owned oil company and other regulators accountable, key players are optimistic that the Petroleum Industry Act will also align activities in the oil and gas sector with global best practices. Lydia Sampson highlights some activities governing the Act's operations.
It became obvious that for the oil and gas industry and state-owned oil firm to operate effectively and efficiently, a new act to repeal the over 5-decade-old regulations that govern the sector is critically needed. Kepler says President Muhammadu Buhari has written his name in gold by assenting to and given the industry a new lease that will continue to foster partnerships across the entire oil and gas value chain. Despite the benefits contained in the new law, there are also concerns, and experts are quick to emphasize that there are no perfect laws.
What is really beautiful there is that it's not just celebrating, it's what are the next step forward. It's really time for us to engage, get investment, push Nigeria, because Nigeria's story has really not been told.
The dedication of 30% frontier exploration funds to take care of exploration and development activities of oil discoveries is generating a heated debate. Some argue that global communities, including international oil companies, are looking for alternatives to fossil fuel, while others says fossil fuel remain critical and countries endowed with it must make haste to harness and maximize its value.
I think the general news is that it is a very good thing that's happened to our country. It's an exciting news for our industry, and certainly for us as the private sector, we are very excited. So well done to the federal government.
Section 57 of the Act provides for NNPC Limited to absorb the employees of NNPC and its subsidiaries on terms and conditions not less favorable than enjoyed before the transfer of the service, including entitlements and pension. The law provides for 2 regulatory agencies in the oil and gas sector, the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The Commission has the power to acquire, hold and dispose of property, responsible for technical and commercial regulation of upstream petroleum operations, as well as the grant of licenses. The authority, on the other hand, takes care of the aspects of the midstream and downstream sectors, including granting of individual licenses and permits. The law provides for host community development trusts to foster sustainable prosperity, enhancement of peace, cordial relationship between oil and gas companies and host communities for greater economic growth. The fund is expected to be incorporated within 12 months after commencement date of new or existing oil mining leases. The law also made provisions for fiscal framework based on core principles of clarity, dynamism, and fiscal policies. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
As expected, the Petroleum Industry Act is still the top issue of discussion in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. And NTA's Current Affairs program, Tuesday Live, offered a veritable platform for stakeholders to dissect every aspect of what many call game changer. Usman Akwanga reports that the discussants were unanimous in their opinions that the PIA will offer both temporary and permanent solutions to the aging challenges in the sector.
The long-awaited Petroleum Industry Act arrived at a time the Niger Delta region is demanding for transparency on the management of existing funds allocated for the development of oil-producing areas.
We've had NDDC, we've had Amnesty, we have Ministry of Niger Delta. But for the first time that we believe that the host community should be able to take their destiny in their own hands, we now said it is just 3% of operating expense. 70% of that budget is on OPEX, which is the operating expense. And you also know that revenue minus cost is profit. That it is better to place the 3% on the OPEX, which is consistent.
What has happened is worthy of praise and emulation. And with this now, I mean, we had a stream that was almost dead. The midstream didn't probably exist after some time, because you're talking about hauling of this crude oil from the wellhead or where it has been produced, you know, to where it needs to be refined.
Now the content of the new act is giving stakeholders the hope for a better deal as host communities will breathe a fresh air of transformation and economic prosperity.
The steps to implementation are vitally important. So it's also a great step to find that a committee has already been established and given this task.
We need to sunset the subsidy regime so that we can have some economic efficiency.
Now, with the industries that are going to be springing up, our industries will be able to be manufacturing all the things we need in this country. That will now strengthen our naira.
Nigerians are confident that the paradigm shift in the petroleum industry will create greater enterprising prospects and generate opportunities that will guarantee the expectations of the people. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
The Petroleum Industry Act 2021 is eliciting mixed reactions from stakeholders as the act now sets a new template for governance and regulatory framework in the nation's oil and gas sector. Leaders from the host communities have advised against politicizing the appointment of the management committee in order not to defeat the set objectives. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
The Petroleum Industry Act provides for the legal, governance, regulatory and fiscal framework for the Nigerian petroleum industry. Chapter 3 captures host community development with the objective of fostering sustainable prosperity within the host communities, provide direct social and economic benefits towards harmonious coexistence for all stakeholders. Drawing from the historical perspective that translated to the passage of the Act, stakeholders see it as a paradigm shift for the host communities.
It's a good thing. We are very happy that we are so included. We are not going to be puppets by the local government or the state government. We are dealing directly with the federal government to take our own development in our hands. That's a good thing.
I want to commend the effort of Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, for listening to the yearning of the people. This long-awaited bill has been on the decks or on the floor of the National Assembly for a very long time.
With 75% of the funds to be channeled to capital projects, leaders from the host communities are optimistic that this could bring about the desired transformation.
Our concern on the PIA is whether there are provisions that are made that are beneficial to us as host communities. Well, the answer is yes. What we want is that the host communities have to select members into that trust body without political influence and bias.
The implementation committee to co-opt, add our representatives, especially the traditional rulers, TrumpCon, in their meetings, so that they will tell them what the various communities need.
To analysts, the extent of community participation in project conception, development, and fund administration would make or mar the envisioned objective of the Act with respect to the host communities.
And joining me in the studio to discuss some more on the issues of the Petroleum Industry Act is the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Meleko Lokiari. It's good to have you in News Extra, sir.
Thank you very much. To see you today.
Thank you so much, too. So, JMD, let's begin with your overview on the PIA.
Yes, thank you very much. I think, to say the least, it's a long road brought to a very, very fruitful end. As we all may be aware, the petroleum industry is governed by regulations and laws that are essentially enacted in 1969. It means that this is a very stale law. It did not move with time. It did not recognize the fact that the oil industry has changed monumentally. And of course, the efforts to bring in a new legislation started almost 21 years ago in the year 2000 when the Oil and Gas Industry Committee to create reforms was initiated. And that practically introduced uncertainty into the industry. This country was not able to bring that legal process, the process of making a new legislation and reform to end until this very opportunity that we have today. And of course, it's also providence. You know, it's simply unimaginable that with the best of efforts since 2008, when the Petroleum Industry Bill was introduced to the National Assembly, it just practically became impossible to put it into law. And what providence has brought is the marriage of a very clement legislative environment, a very purposeful leadership in the National Assembly, both in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, and of course the alignment with the executive arm of the government and with the strong leadership of Mr. President. That combination made it possible for us to take the law into where it is today. And therefore, it is a law that is long awaited by the industry, not just in Nigeria, but overall, all over the world. Everybody thinks that, you know, without doing this, you know, you cannot have the right investment in this country. And there are very practical evidence to show to this. First, we are aware that there are over $50 billion of investment into sub-Saharan Africa in the last 5 years. And out of that, only $3 billion came into Nigeria. The reason is very, very simple. There's fiscal uncertainty here. Our environment is not competitive, and people are not sure what will happen. And essentially, so the history is this, that today history is made, the PIA is passed, and of course, it's the end of a very, very bad situation that we find ourselves.
Sure, history is made. Now, NNPC is, you know, transiting to a Kama company. What happens to your numerous subsidiaries? We all know that NNPC has subsidiaries. So what happens to the numerous subsidiaries with the NNPC?
Yes, thank you. The fact is that today, NNPC is governed under the NNPC Act, a corporation that is established under the NNPC Act. This is the meaning of this is that NNPC is not a Kama company. It's not a company that is governed under the Company and Allied Matters Act. But with the passage of the PIB into law, now the PIA, it is now going to be a Kama company. That means you are going to have a holding company which is completely a Kama company, and of course it has subsidiaries. Those subsidiaries are all individually registered as Kama companies, and of course there are some requirements to this. First, every Kama company must make profit. If you don't do within a certain period of time, as established under the Kama rules, that you can be liquidated. And therefore, it is extremely a new development for NNPC. It's a new opportunity for NNPC because today now we have to justify our existence. You do not have any patronage from government. You have no access to resources of the state to make you whole. You do not also have those liquidity that ordinarily you could have if you are a corporation that's owned by the state. So I think it's a new challenge for us, but of course for the NNPC companies and the subsidiaries, it's a time for great challenge. They are doing well today, but they can do better.
Let's talk about the dedication, you know, of the 30% frontier exploration funds to take care of, you know, exploration and development activities of the oil discoveries in generating, you know, a heated debate. You know, some argue that global communities, you know, including international oil companies, IOCs are looking for alternatives, you know, to fossil fuel, while others say, you know, fossil fuel remain critical and countries endowed with it must make haste to harness and maximize its value. Now, what's your take on that?
First of all, you understand that the whole world is transiting to clean up fuel, and Nigeria is not an exception. This country is signatory to all the protocols that aim at establishing a net carbon zero situation globally. The meaning of this is that you must change the utilization of crude oil and gas resources. You must shift to much cleaner fuel. But it doesn't mean that you are eliminating crude oil or gas. What it means is that make the use of the gas and the oil in such a way that, you know, your effect on the environment becomes net zero. Net zero doesn't mean there's no carbon emission. It means that, you know, you're doing other things that will make sure that the carbon effect of our business is reduced. So for us now, what does it mean to NNPC and to this country? First of all, we're a gas country. Many people don't realize that we're a gas country. We have enormous gas resources in this country, and the meaning of this is that you must have a transition fuel. every estimate that we know and we are aware of shows that, gas utilization will peak probably in another 20 years' time. It means that gas will continue to be relevant in the scheme of things in the global energy mix. It doesn't also eliminate oil. It doesn't eliminate because oil will still remain relevant. There is a forecast that even in year 2015, you could still have up to 100 million barrels per day of oil consumption globally, from where we are today, about 94 that we have today. So it means that there will be marginal increase. It will not be eliminated despite the increase in population and economies, but you will still have need for oil. So oil is not going to go away. But the companies and countries and jurisdictions that will remain in business are those that are very effective. You produce at the least cost, the least distraction, the most attractive for investors. So this is what the PIB tried to do to make our country much more attractive business environment, a much more attractive place to put your money into it, a much more clement business environment, while focusing on development of gas both into the domestic market and into the export market. This is working, and we have seen this work. We have seen very significant increase in the demand and utilization of gas in our country. There are a number of projects that are going on today that I'm aware of. And the net result is that with the PIB's incentives, the PIB's provision that we see today, you'll see more gas utilization in our country. And for us, it's really a threshold of opportunity for Nigeria. We're becoming very competitive. Every company that's in this world, in this business, is looking forward to coming to Nigeria. And that is tied into the very fact that you have mentioned around looking for more oil. Why would you look for more oil when you have 203 billion barrels of oil, proven oil reserve? You have over 37 billion barrels of proven oil reserve, and you have over 203 trillion of established gas. What would you do for that? And of course, what is very clear, and every country is looking forward to expand its energy resources. It doesn't mean that oil will go away. The more oil you have, the more opportunities that you have. Location matters to you. As much as you have a spread in a large country like this, you have all the opportunity that's come. That is why the PIA established the Frontier Exploration Fund, and to be financed with 30% of the profit oil from NNPC's profit oil. I think it's a good thing that we will see coming.
Yeah, sure, it is. Yeah. And, we can't talk about fuel without talking about the host communities. Now, 3% set aside, for host communities is generating, debates all around. Can you help clear the misconceptions? Because so many people have issues with it.
I think I will say clearly that we probably have under-communicated. I'm not sure what you have today can happen at any other time other than during the leadership of this. But with due respect, and I can say that the suggestion or the provision of the 3% or any of the host community itself was a creation of the executive arm of this government. It wasn't introduced by anybody else except that we realized that every intervention that we have done over the years, there are many interventions that were practically done to make sure that host communities are catered for. The 13% derivation, the NDDC, and so many other interventions that we are aware of are designed to make sure that, the Niger Delta region in general, and in particular where oil is particularly found, are catered for. Most of these initiatives haven't delivered what they should do, and the reason is very simple. It's not just about lack of commitment, but because the very fact that communities are not properly engaged. And we think that without bothering around the provisions that exist in this framework, which some of them are going through very enlightened reform, particularly in the NDDC, where distinguished Senator Afab is doing well, trying to create a different line of activity for it. But what we did is that to create a fund, which is 3% of the operating expense of all the oil-producing companies in those regions. This is a very large number. People don't realize that in fiscal year 2020, we spent about $16 billion as operating expense. When you take 3% of that, it gives you over $500 million per annum. It's a very huge amount of money, bigger than the budget of NDDC, and most people don't realize this. But the most important part of it is that the communities are brought into the equation. They will be in charge of this. They are responsible for establishing the project. They will decide what works for their community. I think that is what is fundamentally very different.
Well, thank you so much for all that clarification, GMD. Now, before I allow you go, can you still clarify your earlier statement on NNPC and Dangote refinery shares, as well as, the stakeholders agreement and all of that?
Yes, there are a lot of misunderstanding out there around the NNPC acquisition of 20% interest in the Dangote refinery. What is not obvious to all is that, first of all, the Dangote group doesn't want us to take this equity. That's one misconception out there. They thought that we're just jumping into take at the instance of Dangote. Absolutely not. The second thing is that there's no country, not a self-dependent country like us, will agree to allow such monumental project with energy security implication. Of course, we all know that energy security has connection with fiscal security of any country.
Okay.
You cannot afford to have such kind of asset in your country, and the government will not have a seat on the board of such institution.
Right.
By the way, beyond this, I can also tell you that this is a very, very lucrative business.
Okay.
We know that we can get back all our money in 3 years. We are not going to take government money to put into this, and ultimately we'll all benefit from it.
Okay, thank you so much. That's the most important thing. Thank you so much, the Group Managing Director of NNPC Military, for coming on a News Extra.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the time.
Yes,
Appreciate
and moving on, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has concluded his engagements with the media and US-based think tanks organization, feeling satisfied with the outing. Anthony Fortson reports.
I think we've had a very hectic...
When the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, arrived Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States of America, his vision was clear and mission well thought out.
I'm very satisfied with the outcome of this engagement. We've been able to achieve our objective, which is to come and tell our own story, which is to give an account of our stewardship, to the global media here and to think tanks.
And so, when he began his media engagement, he became the guest of choice. The BBC, both radio and television, hosted him. The same for Bloomberg, VOA, and others, all queued to host Lai Mohammed.
We've been able to achieve our objective, which is to come and tell our own story, which is to give an account of our stewardship, to the global media here and to think tanks. And I'm glad that we met both.
For the think tank group, Lai Mohammed was guest to the United States Institute of Peace, while John Peter Pham, Vice President and Director, African Center of the Atlantic Council, not wanting to miss out of the engagement, came calling on the Nigerian minister. For Lai Mohammed, the visit and engagements were worth the while, because the true Nigerian story must be told, rather than believe in what he called fake news. Anthony Forson, NTA News.
In another story, China's ambassador to Nigeria, Su Zhenchun, has described the Nigerian Television Authority as an important agency of information dissemination, crucial to growth, development, and public good. The top diplomat was in NTA to discuss areas of mutual benefit with the NTA's top management. Salwa Khalil Ibrahim reports.
For many decades, Nigeria, Africa's fastest growing economy, and China, which occupies that position on the global stage, have enjoyed a mutually rewarding relationship in key sectors of the economy. Media collaborations have also enjoyed considerable successes in recent times. Mr. Su Zhenchun, China's top diplomat in Nigeria, visited the NTA, Africa's largest TV network, to further strengthen these ties.
The NTA is a very powerful organization in Nigeria, and I believe that really how can we do something for the two countries? We need the help, we need the idea from the media sectors. So NTA is a very, very important channel, is a very important vehicle for us to work together.
Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, described the Nigeria-China relationship as imperative, especially in NTA's digitization journey.
NTA has been able to bring home to Nigerians, the tremendous reforms that are taking place in Ghana. And NTA, by the way, is the largest television network, not only in Nigeria, but in Africa. We have the widest reach in Africa. So whenever NTA speaks, people listen. Must, acknowledge the support and assistance of StarTimes of China to the Nigerian digitization process.
As the two partners look forward to better days, especially in training and capacity building, NTA also appealed to the Chinese government to support its campaign against rape and rapists. In Abuja, Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, NTA News.
It's a greenery affair that not only guarantees a reduction in the number of pollutants released to the environment, but a workable solution to desertification somewhere. Plus, federal government's nod for the provision of the fastest means of transportation that gladdens the heart of a people. Join us for these and more as we take our first break of the night. Welcome back. With the use of modern technology and mobile application, ride-hailing apps, also known as taxi apps, link their passengers with taxi drivers to take them to destinations of choice. However, this growing industry in Nigeria is now being confronted with security challenge as drivers continue to report increase in cases of car snatching, murder and theft of property by criminal gangs pretending to be customers. Joseph R. Singh takes a look at the plight of these taxi app drivers.
She is now a widow with a child that will never see the face or feel the love and support of a father. Her husband, Matthew Okafor, who was a ride-hailing apps driver, is said to have been killed during a car snatching attempt by a criminal syndicate after boarding his vehicle. Her declining to speak on it tells much about her grief, but she is not alone in this, as her husband's colleagues converge, calling for justice for all victims.
We have continued to witness the death and the murder and the carjacking and the car theft of drivers in Abuja and across Nigeria.
A lady requested me. After like some minutes, two guys came out from nowhere. They came to my car. I asked the lady, are they the one? She said yes. I said, okay, fine. At the process, one just bring out a knife.
The FCT Police Command acknowledges the trend, saying arrests have been made.
In some of the cases, we have been able to make reasonable progress, including recovery of vehicles taken from some of the drivers involved.
The most popular taxi apps across Nigeria are Uber and Bolt, but the inability of the apps to adequately identify customers, the drivers believe, is exposing them to dangers.
Let Bolt and Uber be able to profile their drivers, that is, get their ID cards, their driver license, their BVN, whatever means of identification.
Taxi apps business have continued to grow and expand to major cities in Nigeria, creating opportunities for drivers to grow and for passengers to access vehicles even in remote areas. But hidden identities of some of the passengers have continued to be a nightmare for the drivers. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
Energy security is very strategic in any country. Aside ensuring stability on pricing of petroleum products, despite huge disparities on returns, the federal government, through the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, is committed to end importation with the coming on board of the PIA and the Dangote refinery. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the group managing director of the NNPC reeled out statistics, strategies and measures and government's investment in the industry during the hearing on medium-term expenditure framework.
The local consumption of petrol for Nigeria is between 48 to 52 million litres per day. The actual market price of petrol is 256 naira per litre, but the commodity is sold at a pump price of 162 naira per litre. That's a difference of 94 naira on each litre. The group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation added that though the Petroleum Industry Act enables full deregulation, this arrangement will remain for some time. The interaction touched several issues such as investments in Dangote refinery, among others.
This is a very informed policy decision that first will guarantee security of energy because we will have a seat, we will have rights to 20% of the production from this facility. By the time we are done with our refinery and Dangote's combine, no one will import petroleum products into this country. There will be no need for it anymore.
Thank you, GMD. You've made our day. You can take your leave.
The Federal Road Safety Court took its turn as the hearing and informed the committee about efforts to further improve on services.
I can say that we have
about 99% proof of genuineness of license, because people knows now with the awareness, if you don't go for capture, your license is fake.
The Managing Director of Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, in an analysis of its projections with the committee, painted a positive picture.
7.6 billion was remitted as contribution to the Consolidated Revenue Fund as of June this year.
The committee says it will amend some sections of the National Lottery Trust Fund Act to plug identified loopholes. Others that made appearance at the medium-term expenditure framework hearing include Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, Nuclear Regulatory Agency, and Nigeria Sugar Development Council, among others. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Let's head to Gombe now. Have you noticed that the word and color green transmit a serene feeling? How do you feel when you come upon a lush green vegetation? Well, this is apart from the fact that we get a lot of oxygen from the greenery around us. Okay, let's go to Gombe, like I said earlier, where over 2.5 million trees have been planted under the Gombe State Intervention Project to tackle desertification and other environmental problems. Abbas Mekano has an update on the project launched in August 2019.
Gombe State is known to have 30 different gazetted forest reserves, but most of them tampered with by activities of urbanization process coupled with unnecessary cutting down of trees for energy source and other domestic purposes. No doubt, impact of these activities have further posed a desertification threat to the state, being one of the states geographically located in the desert belt. However, Gombe State Governor Muhammad Inu Yahya, on assumption of office, decided to take the bull by the horn through a policy trust that targets the plantation of 4 million variety of trees across the state within the period of 4 years. That is 1 million trees per year.
This policy comes at a very good time, and particularly here in Gombe State, northern Nigeria, northeast, which is part of the areas that are facing this devastating effect of desertification.
Communities are now coming over, requesting still to see that they will plant it in their farmland and in their houses.
Desert encroachment, devastating flood, and impact of gully erosion are some of the negative trends the Gombe Goes Green project seeks to address.
The expectation is by the end of the fourth year, we will plant 4 million trees. By this second year, we have planted more than 2.5 million trees. So we are ahead of our expectations.
Environmental experts believe that nature has so many ways of fighting back when human activities tampered with its settings. Therefore, they suggested that the earlier people stop distorting the nature through indiscriminate falling of trees, the better for all of us. In Gombe, Abbas Mekano, NTA News.
And currently in Yobe, it is the atmosphere of joy, commendations and loyalty to the federal government by the people of Yobe State, especially residents of the Yobe North Senatorial District after the approval of 6.2 billion naira by the Federal Executive Council for the construction of a new airport at Karasuwa local government area. The residents are optimistic that the airport will bring about rapid transformation of the area as well as promote local and international trade. Adam Yusuf Ali tells us more.
The Wachakal airstrip is located more than 250 kilometers away from Damaturu, the Yobe State capital, and nearly 18 kilometers from Guru town, the headquarters of Guru local government area, a community famously known for rice, sesame and groundnut production in large commercial quantities in Yobe State. It is regarded as the oldest airstrip in Nigeria, constructed long ago before Nigeria's independence. After a long period of neglect, the federal government recently approved 6.2 billion naira for the construction of the airport as a measure towards strengthening the nation's security architecture in the fight against insurgents in the northeast region. Since the federal government's approval, the development has continued to attract reactions from the benefiting communities and stakeholders.
This is a welcome development. We pray to God to make the project a reality. We people in the Northeast are so happy because the airport can be used for reinforcement in the event of any attack by the insurgents.
Initially, the airstrip has only 1.5 kilometer by 3 kilometers. that is the perimeter. So the runway is only 1.5 kilometers initially, but now we have extended the runway to 2.1 kilometers with a perimeter of 3 kilometers by 5 kilometers, which we have demarcated alongside with our Minister of Land and Survey, and His Excellency has already issued them permit to go ahead and do the job.
Governor Mai Malabuni, while appreciating President Muhammadu Buhari for providing more dividends of democracy to the people, noted that in addition to its economic benefits, the airport is strategic for the movement of security personnel and equipment to combat terrorism.
Yobe State government has shown commitment for the actualization of the Wachakal airport, as compensation is being paid to farmers whose lands were collected for the project. In Damaturu, Adam Yusuf Ali, NTA News.
Thank you, Adams. Nigeria's Accident Investigation Bureau is simplifying the outcome of accident investigation reporting for easy understanding by introducing 21st century aesthetics, where with just a click of an icon, an interested person is able to extract information rather than flipping through hundreds of pages. Aviation correspondent Emmanuel Ayimiro reports that the International Civil Aviation Organization has already given approval for its takeoff in Nigeria.
With the use of information technology, where information dissemination is a click away, the only way to bring specific publics and industry players up to speed, experts say, is by the introduction and deployment of internet-specific and technology-driven information vehicles in the reportage of air accident investigation and results without ambiguity.
If it's on human factor, you just click on the animation, on the graphic, you just click on it and it tells you everything about human factor. If it's about the engine that interests you, you just click on that point and it gives you everything on that engine. And that has been discussed at the highest level in ICAO and it's been accepted, and by the time we're done, Nigeria will be the first country in the world that will come up with this format.
There's been so much advancement in technology worldwide, and it's only important and necessary that Nigeria embrace it.
From what I have seen here, it will go a long way to improve and sanitize the system.
Industry players have converged on Abuja to review the 8 last final accident reports released to the public in May 2021 to fine-tune what they believe will be a comprehensive automated system where every agency in aviation ministry can have access to information for the enhancement of the industry. Emmanuel Ayimiro, NTA News.
Now, the Plateau State government has reinstated the 24-hour curfew earlier relaxed in Jos North local government area, following growing tensions arising from the attack on a Yelwa Zangam village of the local government, where people were killed and property destroyed. According to Governor Samuel Lalong, the 24-hour will come into force from 4 p.m. today, Wednesday, 25th August 2021, until further notice. The governor has appealed to the citizens of Jos North to cooperate with the government and abiding to the 24-hour curfew commencing 4 p.m. today, as security agencies have been mandated to ensure that those who violate the curfew are arrested. Also, the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew in Jos South and Bassa local government areas still remains in place until further notice. Only people on essential duties such as health personnel, journalists, fire service and paramilitary and others are to be exempted from the curfew, but should carry means of identification with them at all times. Let's head to Sokoto. The Abdul Samad Rabiu Africa Initiative has donated the sum of 2.5 billion naira tertiary health infrastructure grant to the Sokoto State government for the construction of the College of Medical Sciences and the Sokoto State University and other infrastructure at the School of Nursing, Tambor, as well as the School of Health Technology, Gwadabawa. Also in the state, Gufan Shaji reports that the grant was presented during a ceremony at the Sokoto State Government House.
As Aminu Waziri Tambowal presented the proposed designs for the various projects to Abdul Samad Rabiu, founder of Boa Group and ASR Africa. The founder, represented by former Minister of Foreign Affairs Idi Hong, said the support is to complement the work already being done by the Sokoto state government in healthcare delivery at the primary and secondary levels.
We want to support the state because of the very great work you are doing and the very impactful support and development of the state.
We also share, we feel that we have a shared vision in providing a better life for the people that we're responsible for. We want to congratulate you for the strides you've made. We're aware of the massive employment you did for primary health care. We've seen the structures you put up for healthcare delivery, and we want to assure you that this is something that we also appreciate and know that we can contribute to your success with.
Governor Tambowal thanked Abdul Samad Rabiu for the grant, noting that it is timely and will enable the state expand the scope of the Sokoto State University Teaching Hospital to make it a major hub for healthcare delivery in the northern region.
I assure you that the funds being made available are going to be judiciously utilized. And for the purpose of transparency, and that's why I said that the Ministry of Budget, in collaboration with the Ministry of Higher Education, Ministry of Health, to begin to prepare for a supplementary budget.
It will also benefit from the Abdul Samad Rabiu grant in Abuja. Gufan Shaji, NTA.
Central Bank whirls the hammer against abusers of Naira, and I guess you wouldn't like to land in its net. We'll be right back after this break. Thanks for staying. A tax appeal tribunal sitting in Lagos has ordered MultiChoice Nigeria Limited to pay 50% of 1.8 trillion owed the Federal Inland Revenue Service to the Federal High Court before hearing appeal. Nneka Oku has the details.
A statement by Director Communications and Licensing Department of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Abdullahi Ahmed, says the tribunal has ordered owners of Popular Cable Television Services (DSTV) to pay 50% of 1.8 trillion naira, which the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) has determined through a forensic audit to be the amount in taxes that MultiChoice Nigeria Limited has failed to pay to the government of Nigeria in past assessment years. The FIRS says the five-member tribunal, led by its chairman, Professor A.B. Ahmed, issued the order following an application to it by the council to FIRS. It says paragraph 15, subsection 7 of the 5th schedule to the Federal Inland Revenue Service Act 2007 requires persons or companies seeking to contest a tax assessment to pay all or a stipulated percentage of the tax assessed before they can be allowed to argue the appeal contesting the assessment at Tax Appeal Tribunal.
I believe that justice is for both parties, because usually why provision is made for payment as a condition for appeal is to ensure that the value of the money does not disappear. But looking at it from a dispassionate point of view, as a Nigerian, as a professional, I believe that impossibility should not be placed in the way of an appellant.
MultiChoice Nigeria Limited is expected to pay 900 billion naira as 50% of the disputed amount before hearing. In Abuja, Nneka Oku, NTA News.
The Naira is exposed to all sorts of abuses from different classes of people, thereby devaluing its pride and respect as a symbol of national sovereignty. While this unpatriotic behavior seems to be on the increase from violators, most especially at social gatherings, what is the position of the law on this? Abolade Salami tells us in this report.
Section 21, subsection 3 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007 as amended stipulates that spraying off, dancing or marching on the naira or any note issued by the bank during social occasions or otherwise shall constitute an abuse and defacing of such notes and shall be punishable under the law by fines or imprisonment or both. While it may seem some unpatriotic persons have ignored Section 21, subsection 3 of CBN Act 2007 as amended, by indulging in defacing, spraying off, or matching the country's legal tender at functions and social gatherings. The custodian of the currency, Central Bank of Nigeria, is displeased with this unwholesome behavior and has therefore adopted the carrot and stick approach to correct the abnormality.
It is important that Nigerian people understand that it's no longer, as usual. We need to begin to change our mindset. The Naira is our national pride. It is our heritage and is a symbol of the Nigerian sovereignty, and we need to respect it.
Cases where people mishandle the Naira, deface it, hawk the currency at parties, and even sometimes use as notepads is gradually becoming a norm. And financial experts are suggesting that the Central Bank of Nigeria should engage more in campaigns and enlightenment on the need for Nigerians to handle the Naira with the utmost respect it deserves.
But by all means, authority needs to go on aggressive campaign by showing someone putting money in an envelope. You might even write the amount, you might not write the amount, and give if you want to do cash. So, but it's good that people should stop handling Naira wrongly. I don't think it means well for our country.
Meanwhile, the Apex Bank says closing ranks with security agencies is an avenue adopted to checkmate the menace and discourage violators from the Unpatriotic Act. In Lagos, Abolade Salami.
The Nigerian Export Promotion Council has commenced talks with chief executive officers of relevant MDAs and the Nigerian Television Authority (NTA) ahead of the 2021 Intra-African Trade Fair holding in Durban, South Africa. Comfort Amode reports that Nigeria's full participation at the fair dominated discussions during NTA's visit.
In addition of the Intra-African Trade Fair in Cairo, Egypt in 2018 attracted more than 2,500 conference delegates, more than 1,000 exhibitors, and more than $32 billion worth of trade and investment deals signed. 3 years on, the second edition is scheduled for Durban, South Africa, and Nigeria is poised to again showcase its products and services. The 2021 edition is expected to generate about $40 billion in trade and investment deals. Already, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council is interfacing with key players such as Afrexim Bank, Nixim Bank, BIO, NIDA, Sweden, and the Nigerian Television Authority, and others to strategize on how Nigerian business owners and manufacturers can explore the African market.
Go online, submit, drop your documents there. At the end of the day, the committee sits again, we pick the best companies we want to take forward to this trade fair.
The Advisory Council is working with head of state and South Africa and Afrexim Bank, leading for vaccine acquisition for African countries to make sure that we achieve 60% vaccination rate for the trade fair date.
NTA again restated willingness to partner with relevant agencies towards boosting the nation's economy.
Especially as a champion of promoting the brand Nigeria.
With the theme Building Bridges for a Successful African Continental Free Trade Area, the fair is expected to provide platforms for more than 10,000 visitors and buyers, attract 5,000 conference participants from all 55 African countries. In Abuja, Comfort Amodu, NTA News.
So far, so good. Our next segment is one that is bound to stimulate the interest of parents and schools to join the bandwagon of those who have realized the benefits of the Catch Them Young concept, especially in the area of skills acquisition for self-reliance. Join us again.
He's falling sick so frequently, either fever or stomachache. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apples. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then also wash your hands regularly with Dettol soap.
Meaning?
Germs and disease spread through the hand also. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
This na the story of Pekin, wey rise to the max. Rain or shine, it not settle for less. the story of small boy we get big talent.
Home and away.
Wait too, it be like saying the story of one man way fall, but we bounce back in style.
What's it waiting to motivate you?
I want that big, special, and great.
Watching us live from Big Brother House Studio.
Joy for Osim and his teammates at Chapter as well.
Make we enjoy Max Entertainment together.
Sports or movies, telenovela or cartoon, music or reality TV. With just 6,900 naira, you fit get your Go TV decoder plus 1 month Max subscription. Make you enjoy over 75 channels with for Go TV Max. Make you and your special ones enjoy better things on Max levels. Go TV, love it.
We should understand that the well-being and the security of this country is the paramount to any government. Prior to now, we are doing more of defensive activities to protect our bases and fight the war when we are challenged or when an objective is attacked. But right now, what we do is to carry the battle into areas where the banditries or the Boko Harams or whatever. The Nigerian Army has brought into its platforms the BT tanks, main battle tanks, helicopters, Augusta 135, the MiG helicopters, which can operate even in the night, the Super Tucanos that are about to be launched.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Welcome back to News Extra. The People's Democratic Party says it remains one and indivisibly together as a family. Spokesperson of the party, Kola Olabodiyan, at a media briefing in Abuja says the series of meetings already scheduled to begin from this Thursday will address all of the contending issues. Timothy Yusuf reports.
The People's Democratic Party this Tuesday produced 2 deputy national chairmen, laying claims to national chairman of the party following an ex-party order restraining Prince Uche Secondus from functioning as the national chairman of the PDP.
That the deputy national chairman South has been incapacitated. He has not attended any meeting in the last 9 to 10 months as far as NWC is concerned. He has not been in communication with any member of the NWC for the last 10 months. And in that regard, I have taken over as spelled out by the Constitution in the absence of all other chairmen.
Now, the acting national chairman of the PDP is Elder Atu.
The party spokesperson, Kola Olubodiyan, however, expresses the hope that the internal leadership tussle will be resolved.
The People's Democratic Party is one, indivisible, indissoluble, and a united political party. And as such, those who are going around and talking about factions, they do not understand the nuances of the family way in which the People's Democratic Party operates.
He also appeals to National Assembly members to call down their recess towards finding workable solution to the spate of insecurity in the country. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Gombe State Governor Mohammed Inuwa Yahaya is felicitating with the Sultan of Sokoto and President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Alhaji Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar III, on the occasion of his 65th birthday. In a congratulatory message, Governor Yahaya described Sultan Sa'ad as an exemplary leader and role model worthy of emulation. Governor Inuwa says Gombe State appreciates selflessness and commitment to the service of His Eminence to Allah and humanity, as well as the strategic role he plays in promoting unity and peaceful coexistence among the diverse people of Nigeria, as well his tireless commitment to the development of the traditional institution and the Muslim Ummah. Governor Inuwa Yahaya praised Almighty Allah to continue to grant him good health and more wisdom to keep providing exemplary leadership for the good of Nigeria. As the global demands for technology compliance thrives, encouraging children to learn new skills is an important part of supporting their overall development to build independence and self-esteem. For these and the purpose of self-reliance in the future, experts say or advocate that children should be exposed to creative skills. Ifeoma Ikoji reports.
One of the days when children were left to while away the long vacations without any meaningful engagements. In recent times, parents have become more futuristic as most of them engage their children in creative skills acquisition programs. While some prefer regular classroom lessons to prepare the children for the next academic session, others engage them in various information communication technology programs, music, and other skills.
We have coding, okay, both for the scratch, the ones that have not done coding at all, and then for the advanced class. We also have the creatives, which involve graphic design, creative writing, and I think digital skills. And then we have public speaking and etiquette.
Public speaking class, we ensure that children are able to express themselves and they're able to share their ideas and their opinions.
Experts share professional opinions on the current trend of engaging children in skills acquisition.
I think the world is returning to skills. You understand. You can notice that many graduates cannot even secure government jobs. And the way they reason and think and live, government jobs might not sustain them.
This generation of children seem to be very much aware of the demands of the contemporary society, hence their doggedness to take advantage of every given opportunity to equip themselves for the future.
I like my vacation. I'm very happy to see writing. I've learned graphic design. I'm making a story. The thing about it, you have to do Scratch. And Scratch is also exciting. Graphic designs, I didn't know how to do it before, but now they taught me very well and I know how to do it. I now know how to write a story. I now know how to make a book.
I like public speaking, etiquette, and how to design on the computer.
I made a back cover of a book, Code on the Streets.
It is therefore advisable to identify talents early enough so as to empower the children with the right skills. In Oyo, Ifeoma Ikoji, NTN News.
Time for our last break for the night. Welcome. Drug law enforcement is a hazardous job indeed. Sometimes operatives pay the supreme price battling outlaws and drug lords. For the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, keeping morale high is important for the men on the field and family members of fallen operatives. Abdulmalik Hassan reports that the agency is covering expenses incurred by bereaved families.
Mourning, but not without hope. Family members struggling with the demise of the breadwinner who answered the supreme call while dedicating themselves to the war on drugs. They are compensated for the burial expenses incurred laying their loved ones to rest to alleviate their sufferings. Mary Joseph Joshua is one of the beneficiaries here. She shares her experience.
Leaving 3 children behind and 2 boys, you know how the boys are. It's not the same, but God has been faithful. My husband just died last year, and a year after, I'm one of the beneficiaries of this. So I will say God has remembered me.
For the agency, it is a thank you for the services rendered by the officers who fought to rid the country of the social evil, a clear present danger that only the brave can confront.
The best Nigeria and Nigerians can do to immortalize these late officers and men is for all to stand and join the fight against the twin evils of drug trafficking and drug abuse.
Mary is one out of the members of 188 families whose lost hopes have been revived. While the gallant men and women cannot return, the agency promises that the impact of their absence will be reduced by its constant show of support to the
Thank you, Malik, and that ends the news tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of it. But before I go, remember, today is Star Connect with the NTN Stand Against Rape and Rapists. I am Fatima Umaruba. Enjoy the rest of your night.